Hey guys, and welcome back, or hello if you are new here. So, today we're going to be testing out different thinning mediums and solvents, and I'll also be sure to let you guys know what my favorite is. But right now, I'm going through my box of test parts. So, here's our lineup: we have BC Heat Set paints, we have Irresistible's Liquid Thin and McPherson's Thinning Oil, and then Gamsol. So we're going to take out Carbon Black because I think this is the best color in order for it to show up on camera. I'm getting all of my bowls ready for each solvent. So this is a BC Heat Set paint that I'm just showing you guys. And I'm going to add the same amount of black to each bowl. And once we get that done, we'll get started with mixing the solvents. And I take out the Exodus and the Gamsol actually, but I'm just showing you what the original bottle looks like so you'll know if you ever go to order it. And this is in real time. I didn't do this video with a lot of edits because I want to make sure that you guys get the most that you can, especially when I am testing out mediums and solvents. And then of course this is Gamsol, and I took this out of the bottle as well. Do me a favor, comment down below and tell me if you can guess which is my favorite. I'm just curious to see if you guys are good spies. We're just adding them to the bowl. And in my best guesstimation, I tried to do the same amount of solvents just to give it all a fair shot, you know. Same amount of paint, same amount of solvent. So I am moving the bowl so that you can see the consistency, like how it runs, if it's fast, slow. You can kind of see if it's thick, thin, if it's really oily or not. You can kind of tell all of that by the movement. All right, so let's get to mixing. We're going to mix up McPherson's Exodus Thinning Oil first. And again, I am doing all of this in real time so that you can see how long it takes me to mix up the solvent with the paint. And if you're new to reborning, what I'm doing here is I'm making sure that all the bits of paint is really mixed up and emulsified within the mixture. Because of course, if I were to start applying this to a vinyl piece, you want to make sure that the paint is being applied as evenly as possible because you'd hate to use your brush and have pure paint mixed in, or pieces of pure paint mixed in with your actual mixed application. And with the liquid then, you can see that this, of course, is a bit thicker. And in using this one, you could actually use it for layers or for shading um, African American dolls or any other color. But my point is just simply there's going to be a different consistency you want for like your base layers versus your shading layers. And even though the liquid thin is white, it does not affect the pigment whatsoever. And so, as I mentioned before, I am using a new brush for every mixture just to make sure I don't carry product from one bowl to the next. Again, keeping everything as separated as possible so that we can get the purest form of each of these products. This one and the Exodus kind of behave similarly. There is a difference, but as far as like the consistency, you can tell it as we get further when we get further along, but the consistency is pretty similar. And next up is Gamsol odorless spirits, and none of these have odors, by the way. But I do highly suggest anytime that you are using heat set paints that you are using an air purifier if you have one, which I found mine on Amazon, and also use a gas mask because once you start to heat up the vinyl parts, different things can permeate through those pores of the vinyl, and you want to make sure that you are protecting yourself in the best way possible and that you are in a well ventilated area anytime you are using heat set paint. Now let's take a look at how these all look just settled in the bowl. Now that they've been mixed, let's see how they look after a while of sitting. And this is just immediately following, so it hasn't been sitting for that long. But just to show you an up close view of the mixture. This is the Exodus, and you can see how it runs and how the paint holds up within that mixture. And then the Liquid Thin, which is pretty stiff, perfect for shading. Again, if you were to do this with base layers, it may be a little difficult. It could be done, definitely could be done. I know that there's some artists who paint with Liquid Thin. And then this is the BC Heat Set paints. You can see how there's tiny particles at the bottom, but it just takes a little bit of mixing to get that back together. And then this is Gamsol, kind of separated, but again, just mix it with the brush before you apply it. So here's our test piece. Sorry I'm out of frame on this one, but I'm writing X for Exodus. And then I'm going to make a section for each solvent. So now we're going to do the BC Heat Set paints. Oh no, the Liquid Thin actually. So Liquid Thin will come up next. And then the BC Heat Set paints. And I highly suggest that you guys try out any products that you get before you start to use them on an actual kit that you're going to sell or keep, because you want to make sure that you are actually pleased with the outcome. Because like I mentioned with the Liquid Thin, I'll go ahead and say I don't necessarily use that particular solvent, but I do know artists who do use it and it works for them. We'll talk more about why I may not use it a little bit later. But let's do our first swatch with the Exodus. And I'm going to apply this just like I would if I were getting ready to paint. I'm going to apply all of them as if I were getting ready to paint the entire limb, but just in that section. And so you can see how this lays down. Very sheer. And it still holds its pigment, but it's very thin. And now you'll get an opportunity to see how the Liquid Thin performs in application. Very pigmented, again, very thick. Now BC Heat Set paints. Mixing that back up to make sure all of the particles are mixed in. And lastly, let's look at the Gamsol. So if I were actually applying this to the entire limb, this is what I would do. Of course, not so delicately with the side of the wedge, but because of how my sections are, I'm using the side of the wedge to pounce off the extra paint. But the idea is to pounce all of the excess paint off and let it flash cure. And what that means is let it dry off before we actually put it into the oven to bake. And keep in mind that this is extra important to let your paint actually set before you put it into the oven, because if we were painting an entire limb, what would happen if we put it in there completely wet is that paint would be disturbed. And however you put it in there to be baked is how it will come out. So to make sure our layers stay as even as possible, we let it flash cure or air dry for a second. So here is the thinning medium. This is actually the only thinning medium that I have on hand at the moment. And again, I'm using the carbon black because we're going to use another test limb to see how the thinning medium application is as it's mixed, as it's applied, and after it's baked. But the difference with the thinning medium and the solvents is its consistency and its use. So thinning medium is more so used for shading. For me, I use it more so for shading and when I'm trying to build up layers and I need that pigment to show through in less layers. So I wouldn't use this for like the base. I would definitely use it for shading. In my other videos, you've seen me actually using this. So this is my preferred medium for shading. As you can see, I'm about down to the bottom, so it's about time to reorder. So unfortunately, I don't have another product to show you, and I hate that. But this is my tried and true, and it holds up extremely well against the multiple layers that it takes for African American babies or skin tones. Oh, and I was mentioning the differences, and the thinning solvents are for your washes and for your base layers. So that gives you the opportunity to apply those layers very thinly, very evenly, and it gives you more playtime, so to speak, as far as its drying time. And by drying time, I actually mean like the time it takes you to apply the paint and then pounce it off before you let it flash cure, which is why I no longer use Mona Lisa. That thinning medium evaporates so quickly. So it's not even up here as a contender because of that. When you're doing African American skin tones, you need extra time to really pounce out the extra paint. You need time to apply, and to have more work time, you need a solvent that's going to work with you and not against you. Because if you're mid pounce and then you notice that the paint has started to dry, you're definitely going to have some uneven layers. And even layers are key when you are doing African American skin tones. So I'm showing you how it moves on the palette here with just the paint and the thinning medium. I'm not slowing it down. I'm just moving the brush slowly. So on the test limb, I'm gonna do without and with. And what the without is, that's just the thinning medium and the paint. I'll bring it down in just a second. And again, I'm applying this as if I were applying it to the entire limb or really in the shaded area. Now, for more movement, we're going to add in some Gamsol. And I guess I could have, and maybe you can do this on your own, but perhaps you, because I'm only going to use Gamsol, you could try the other mediums mixed in with this thinning medium, or try the other solvents rather, mixed in with this thinning medium. But we're going to see how it compares without the addition of the solvent and then with the solvent. pouncing off the excess paint because we just applied this to our limb just like we would if we were going through the normal process. And we're also going to let this flash cure or air dry for a minute. And this one isn't quite ready yet. So I did let some time pass and came back and recorded to show you what it looks like when it's air dried for the moment. All right, so let's get ready to pop these two limbs into the oven. Now that everything is cooled, we can take a look at how they all look. And of course, Exodus is my preferred solvent for base layers. The application is buttery smooth and it makes for very even layers. The liquid thin is kind of splotchy for me. The BC Heat Set paint kind of separates too much for me, but the Gamsol would be my second choice. Let's take a look at the thinning medium. Now you can already see without, and you can see with. Now I didn't pounce with too well, but you get the point if you look at the larger section. My preferred method for shading, you saw it in my videos, thinning medium plus Gamsol, or thinning medium plus Exodus. It just kind of depends on how I feel that day. But for the best application, you want to use a solvent for sure. And guys, we're going to wrap up here, but this is just a lineup of other mediums that I'm going to try. We have thick medium, glazing medium, matte varnishes, satin varnishes, and then at the very beginning, you saw 2 air dry matte varnishes. So we're going to have a few of these videos coming up, but I just wanted you guys to see that I have a lineup and you'll get a chance to see how they all work. See you later.
You better be there when I shake. Watch me rockin' if I can't stop. If I should fall, just